Welcome to Sisters of the Shadows, where mystery meets meaning. Together, we'll explore stories that spark curiosity and connection. Step into the circle, the shadows await.
Welcome back to Sisters of the Shadows, the show where folklore breathes, ghosts linger, and the veil between world thins just enough for us to peek through. Tonight, we're traveling far beyond our usual corners of the supernatural.
And with that being said, we're crossing continents through stories, not by plane, not by map, but by legend, for hauntings, for cultures, for spirits who refuse to fade.
From Mexico's Weeping Mother to South Africa's most haunted fortress to Romania's forest of disappearances and to Japan's slit-mouthed woman.
This is Across the Veil, Hauntings Around the World, and let's begin.
Yes, I would like to start with La Llorona and get a little bit into the legend. La Llorona is also known as the Weeping Woman, a mother who drowned her children in a moment of rage, heartbreak, or betrayal, and now wanders riversides crying for them.
Her story shifts depending on the region. Sometimes she's a portrayed lover, sometimes a woman punished for choosing the wrong man. Sometimes a symbol of generational grief.
So let's touch on the history a little bit. Many historians connect La Llorona to La Malinche, the indigenous woman who became Hernan Cortez's interpreter. She's often unfairly blamed for the fall of the Aztec Empire and turned into a symbol of betrayal and sorrow.
Others trace her to the Aztec goddess Siwa Atul, who is said to wander at night crying for her lost children.
Let's go into some ghost sightings. Modern sightings usually happen near rivers, lakes, and canals. People reported a woman in a white dress floating above water, crying that shift from close to far instantly, a figure that disappears when approached, children hearing her voice when adults don't.
And so in Texas, a family reported a woman in white walking toward a creek, leaving no footprints. And in Mexico City, a taxi driver claims that she appeared in the back seat crying and then vanished.
Wow, that's crazy. And some interesting facts we came upon include that some towns perform La Llorona plays on riverbanks every year. Parents still warn kids not to go near water at night. And La Llorona is one of the most recognized ghosts in the Americas.
Let's discuss some questions. Question number one: is Lola Rona a ghost or a cultural warning? Question number two: why do so many cultures have a weeping mother figure? And last but not least question: is her story more supernatural or psychological?
I think La Llorona is a ghost, but could also be a cultural warning. I feel like the two definitely can intertwine. I believe a lot of cultures have a weeping mother figure is because, in my opinion, it's a tragic figure. People can understand the grief and the loss that a mother could feel. I feel like that's why a lot of cultures have someone or something that would represent that. And then I think her story is more supernatural. I don't feel as if it's psychological. The reason being is because this is an apparition that appears. You can hear her crying. I don't think that's necessarily a psychological thing.
I totally agree with you on that, Jada. And I think that weeping mother figure is just kind of it's very tangible for a lot of people. It's like something that you can be empathetic towards. And I feel like that's kind of why it becomes so impactful. But La Llorona, it feels like it has to be a ghost. There's too many different abstract sightings from so many different walks of people that it's hard to deny it.
Right, Imma have to piggyback off y'all because I agree with everything, especially what you said, Jada.
So, next, I want to talk about the Castle of Good Hope and give a little bit of historical background there. It was built in the 1600s by the Dutch East India Company. The Castle of Good Hope is the oldest colonial building in South Africa. It served as a fortress, prison, torture site, and execution grounds. Executions were sometimes carried out in the courtyard or near the walls as a deterrent to others. Political prisoners, enslaved individuals, and soldiers accused of desertion were among those confined and punished within its walls. The dungeon spaces were not designed for comfort or rehabilitation. They were meant to isolate, intimidate, and break morale. Documented punishments included public executions, flogging and corporal punishment, solitary confinement, and hanging.
One of the darker legends involves a soldier who allegedly hung himself in the bell tower after being wrongfully accused and condemned. According to the stories, he rang a bell to protest his innocence before taking his own life. There is limited archival confirmation of his exact narrative, but suicides and harsh military discipline during that era were historically plausible. Today, some staff claim the bell rang unexpectedly, a male presence is felt in the tower, and footsteps are heard when no one is present, which all three is creepy, especially the male presence. There is no verified police file confirming paranormal activity, but the legend persists among guides.
So, one of the notable ghost sightings that I found interesting, even though there are several spirits, was the lady in gray. It's a woman seen running through the halls crying. She disappeared for decades, then reappeared after a body was found beneath the castle. Another one is the black dog, and this is a massive dog that charges at visitors and then vanishes.
Another interesting one that I was looking into was Governor Van Noot. In 1729, they reportedly upheld harsh death sentences, overturning lighter punishments for seven soldiers and insisting they be executed instead. Local accounts and later narratives claim that one of the condemned soldiers cursed him before death. On the very day the executions were carried out, the governor himself died suddenly in his office chair. This coincidence, later known for severe rulings dying right after enforcing them, is often woven into ghost stories about the castle's restless energy. Although we have secondary historical accounts of his sudden death, there's no formal 18th century police paranormal report. But the story persists among guides as part of the castle's ghost lore.
Um, that's a lot. That's crazy. Let's get into some sightings and encounters. So, the tall man is the most reported apparition. In 1915, a tall spectral figure was reported seen walking along the ramparts before vanishing. Multiple guards claimed sightings in the early 20th century. Inter- Interestingly, reports declined after renovations in certain areas, where skeptics argue suggests environmental factors like lightning, structural movement, wind acoustics. Still, the council's most famous ghost claim guards also reported doors slamming on their own, footsteps following them, a figure standing on the battlements, lights turning on in locked rooms.
I also want to touch on modern experiences. And here we have tourists saying that they feel watched. Some faint in the torture chamber, and one visitor felt a hand grip on her shoulder, but no one was behind her. And important clarification here is that there are no officially validated paranormal investigations confirming supernatural events in this area, no police documentation declaring unexplained phenomena, and the haunting reputation is built on guard testimonies, staff reports, visitor experiences, and oral legend. The castle today operates as a museum and a military ceremonial site.
Some facts that I had found was the castle once had gallows inside the walls, which I thought was really interesting. Another fact was that archaeologists have found secret tunnels beneath this place. And then what I found just really creepy was the lady in gray sightings actually increased after they renovated the place.
I'm sorry if I see a lady in gray, especially after renovating. Yeah, that's a sign I must go.
I wonder if the renovations disturbed her resting place, and that's why there were more sightings.
That right. Do spirits get confused when renovations happen and now they don't know where to go, but just roam around in that area or building?
Yeah, I think that's why I know this is off topic, but I think that's why the lady in the Winchester house was building all those crazy hallways that led to nothing to confuse the spirit. So I do think if they died in a place and you go and you change it around and add extra hallways and real renovations, I think they might actually get confused.
So the sightings increase. I feel like, yeah, she didn't know where to go.
And these kind of places just hold a lot of energy, and it's kind of undeniable that something sinister is happening.
So, who's ready for discussion questions? Question number one. Why do places of punishment hold energy so strongly? Question number two. Do renovations stir up spirits? And final question. Which ghost here feels the most believable?
That's a really good question. I think all of these ghosts, it just depends on you and your personal like feelings and thoughts, I think is what ghost is gonna be the most impactful for you. But I think for all different types of people, like we have different triggers and creepy things that are gonna resonate with certain people.
Right. I think, and to answer the questions, I think that places of punishment hold a lot of energy just simply because pain and tragedy expels the most amount of energy. And so when you find places that have horrific events or a lot of tragedy happens there, they tend to hold on to those energies a lot more. So I guess that's why I think places of punishment compared to, you don't go to places that people deem happy where good things happen and feel those types of energies. And then, like Erica said, we already kind of touched on the renovations stirring up spirits. I think once you start renovating to the extent, and I don't mean by renovations like, oh, I just did the interior decoration, like actually, oh, well, this room used to be one big room and now it's two separate rooms with a wall put in. That could confuse spirits who are used to a space that is set up a certain way, especially if that's where they died at. And then for me, the ghost that feels most believable in this section would be the lady in gray, just because there are so many people who have cited her, just because there have been reports of sightings of her increasing after renovations. I just feel like she's the most believable to me.
I totally agree. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like, you want to touch a little why do places of punishment hold energy so strong? Like, in that era, back then, they can do a little something, but then get the most intense punishment. And they weren't a bad person per se, but when they pass, that's when they become evil or more evil and want revenge on the pain they felt. They want other people to feel, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely makes sense to me.
And I have to say, which ghosts feel more believable will be the lady in gray, just because after renovations, people start to see her more.
Right. I agree with that.
Eh, So let's move into our next segment, which is Hoia Baciu, and it is referred to as the Bermuda Triangle of Romania. People vanish, electronics malfunction, and trees grow in twisted, unnatural shapes. This place covers roughly 250 hectares. Its borders farmlands and residential areas, which makes its reputation even stranger. It isn't remote wilderness, but you can see the city lights from part of it.
And I wanted to get into the history of this area. The forest is named after a shepherd who disappeared with 200 sheep. Neither he nor the animals were ever found. The forest's modern notoriety began in the late 1960s. A Romanian biologist, Alexandru Sift, reportedly collected testimonies and photographs of unusual lights in this area. Shortly after, in 1968, Emil Barnea allegedly captured a photograph of a disc-shaped object above the forest. The image became one of Eastern Europe's better-known Cold War UFO photographs. There is not any official confirmation of extraterrestrial activity. The photo was never formally authenticated or conclusively debunked. And what makes it unusual is that these reports surfaced during Romania's communist regime, which was a period where public paranormal narratives were not widely encouraged.
Wow. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of want to see a UFO, but from a distance. Let's get into some paranormal claims. So, visitors reported feeling watched, nauseous and dizzy, lost time, shadow figures, oars floating between trees, a woman who appears then vanish. There are no verified medical case studies proving a direct environmental cause, specifically to Hoia Baciu reports remain persistent.
The circular clearings at the forest center remains one of the biggest mysteries. Vegetation there grows differently than the surrounding area. Soil analysts have been conducted over the years, but no widely accepted abnormal chemical signature has been identified. Scientists have suggested fungal patterns, soil compaction differences, historical human clearings, microclimate variations, yet visitors repeatedly describe the clearing as the most psychologically intense parts of the forest.
Next, I wanted to touch on modern encounters. In 1968, a woman disappeared for hours and returned with no memory, but her clothes were different. UFO photos taken in the forest remained unexplained. Modern authorities do not classify Hoia Baciu as a high risk missing persons zone. Hoia Baciu continues to attract researchers, tourists, and paranormal investigators because the pattern of reports spans over 60 years. The Cold War UFO photo still is circulating in modern media. Environmental explanations remain incomplete but still plausible, and the forest is accessible, not forbidden. It is not officially dangerous, it is not legally restricted, and it's never been proven supernatural. It is simply a forest with layered reputation and repeated human reactions. And that expectation mixed with unexplained sensations is quite powerful.
That it is. Scientists have measured radiation spikes in certain areas. Trees show signs of burns with no fire source. Locals refuse to enter after dark. And honestly, some locals are smart. I would not be entering no forest after dark.
In your guys' opinion, is this place paranormal, extraterrestrial, or just psychological?
I feel like it's a little hard to say it's extraterrestrial. I mean, we've got some proof, but I don't know if it's enough. So I think a lot of it is going to be a mix of psychological feelings of people who were there and a potential mix of paranormal, questionable things that might have been happening.
Especially, like, who knows what happens in the dark? Your eyes will play mind games with you. And especially if you've been somewhere for hours, I feel like the mind can play tricks with you. I think it's a mix between paranormal and psychological.
Definitely. I would agree with that.
So, why do places like this feel wrong even when there's really no proof that anything wrong has happened?
I mean, vibes and just word of mouth are enough to give people feeling of somewhere they're gonna go or end up at. I think word of mouth is a lot more powerful than people realize, and I think that could definitely play in to being creeped out of about a place that you've never heard of or never been to.
I think I have to agree with you, like what you said, the vibes. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, but you can go anywhere and just feel the vibes of the place. And you don't have to know the historical background or really anything about a place to be like, this place feels weird, you know?
I have to agree with that. Like, you give me bad vibes, I'm not entering. No, goodbye. I would not mess around anywhere just because word of mouth. Bad vibes. That's the only thing you can say. Bad vibes. It was bad vibes. I'm not going then.
So, if you guys had the opportunity, would you camp overnight?
Nope.
Uh, I must say maybe. If I had a good group with me and we were all on the same page, maybe, but also probably not.
Feel like I would camp, but I would have to be one of those people where you see them camping and they set up like their car and they're back
Yeah.
there and it looks all nice. I would do camping like that so that I feel like I'm still in a safe space. So if anything does happen or I see anything creepy, I'm not in a flimsy tent
Yeah.
that is gonna get blown away in the wind if it's too strong.
I agree with that now, like, you put it in that way, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I forgot people also do that." So, I would do that, but I don't know, 'cause I've seen people just buy one of those vans where you can sleep in, if that makes sense. But yeah, I would just do that. I would not set up a tent because I watch too many horror movies. I mean, what if as soon as I fall asleep, somebody comes slash my time? Oh, like, I won't have enough time to put my tent away. Like, I gotta get the freak from out of here and fuck that damn tent. I don't care how much it was. I watch me horror. Yeah, like you said, Erica, if I'm with the right people, but also, like Jada said, I'm camping in a car. So it's like SUV, whatever, in a safe place.
There's gotta be stipulations and needs some preset standards, but I could be down. So, yeah, I
So
think
that's
to move in our next section, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
the legend. Lucha Sakiana, the slit mouth woman. She is one of Japan's most famous modern urban legends, a blend of traditional yokai lore, beauty anxieties, and 1970s math panic. She is typically described as a woman wearing a surgical mask, long dark hair, a beige or red coat, holding a sharp object like scissors, knife, or sickle. Mouth slit from ear to ear. She approaches victims, usually children or teens, and asks, "Am I pretty?" The wrong answer leads to death. The right answer only buys time.
That's pretty crazy. And next, I want to talk about some of the potential historical roots. First of that being a samurai wife theory, which was during the Edo period. One of the oldest interpretations claims that she was the wife of a samurai. She was unfaithful, and as punishment, he slit her mouth from ear to ear. She died from the wounds and returned as a vengeful spirit. This version aligns with Onryo, which is a vengeful female ghost common in Japanese folklore. Next, I want to touch on the yokai influence. Her traits resemble Kijo, which is a demonic woman, Onryo, which once again is vengeful spirits, and the Kuchisake Onna type figures in older ghost stories. Japan has a long tradition of female spirits punished for beauty, vanity, or even betrayal. And next, I wanted to talk about the 1970s urban panic. The modern version exploded in 1978 to 1979 when school children across Japan reported sightings. Police increased patrols, teachers escorted kids home, and newspapers covered the panic. This is considered one of Japan's first major modern urban legends. And next, I want to touch on the Korean connection. A similar figure existed in Korea, and this was known as the Red Mask Woman, who also targeted children. This suggests that the legend may have traveled between countries and evolved through time.
Wow, I didn't know that there was a Korean connection, so that's really cool to know. Let's talk about some of the sightings because I know that Erica had mentioned the 1970s sighting, which happened during the panic. Children had claimed a masked woman was chasing them. Some said that she was running unnaturally fast, and others said she appeared behind them suddenly, and teachers actually formed walking groups just to protect the children. Another instance was in 2004, the Gaifu Prefecture incident, A woman with a slit mouth injury was found dead after falling into a ditch, and some locals believe she was the origin of the legend, and this reignited the story worldwide.
Oh, wow. Speaking of martyr encounters, let's talk about some martyr encounters. Um, Online encounters on Japanese forums. Users claim she appears in dreams, she mimics voices, she knocks on doors late at night, she follows people home. That's a no-no. People claim to see her in subways, on empty streets, in mirrors, near schools. Some also say she can be distracted with candy or confusing questions.
And that's so crazy. I feel like the variability of how and when people are seeing her is playing into that eerie aspect. I wanted to touch on a couple interesting facts that we found. Her coat is often described as red, symbolizing blood and vengeance. Some versions say she moves at a superhuman speed, which, oh my gosh, that's terrifying. In certain regions, she carries a rusty sickle instead of scissors. In the 1970s, teachers formed a Kushisaki patrols to look out for this spirit. She is sometimes said to target men specifically and not just children, and her legend resurges every few years with new variations.
Wow, that's crazy. I guess the first time I heard about her personally was through different mangas and animes. And then you kind of really get to see how many horror movies and different aspects really kind of take her story and kind of, spread it out there.
Yeah, these kind of things spread like wildfire in this day and age, let alone back when this originally was happening. Stories just spread so quickly and reach so many people that it's pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I was gonna ask is why do you guys think that urban legends spread so fast?
It's just kind of inherent with our day and age and how important social media is to relaying news to the general public.
And I think for back then, because they didn't really have social media, especially in like the Edo period, it gives gossip. It's what the
Mhm.
town had to talk about. If you're not watching TV, you're not out here reading books, you didn't have social media. So all you had was let's have some tea and hear about the local town mischief or drama. And sometimes you actually get ghost stories from people who were out late at night, or like this one where you have children who are genuinely like, yo, somebody was chasing me.
Agree.
As a child, I would have been scared because I couldn't imagine walking and then there's this woman, as a child, you think, oh, this is an adult, and she's just now superhuman running after you. Like, I would have left my body. My soul would have just been like, "Ah," because there's no way.
No, for real. I was just thinking like the thing you will see is my soul. Everything else will be like, I'm gone.
Need aspect takes it to another level. And if proper documentation was happening back when this started, I feel like we would have so much more detailed experiences, but we can only really go off of what research we found, and unfortunately, it's probably not as intuitive as we would like it to be.
Right. And so do you guys think, in your opinion, from what we know about her, is she a ghost? Is she a demon? Or is she just a metaphor for something else?
She's all the damn above.
I would say the same thing. Like she's all the above.
She's so complex as, like, a historical marker and just the lore behind her. It would be hard to pick one avenue to explore.
And then the last question I have for you guys about her is what do you guys think her story says about beauty standards, if any at all?
That's tricky. I think that the male imposition on her appearance just through her husband and the potential things he might have done to her. It's something that's faced back then and today the same ways. It's tricky. It is inherent in talking about any historical woman, whether we like it or not.
And it's like, especially when I read, oh, beauty anxiety, and then she asks us the question, is she pretty?
That's sad to think that that's what you're concerned about if you were in her position after so many years. It's unfortunate that that's what it would boil down to.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, ladies. 4 countries, 4 hauntings, 4 reminders that fear travels and transforms across culture.
And it really does. And tonight, I think we've really explored that. And whether these spirits are real or just symbolic, they reveal something about all of our fears, our guilt, our warnings, and our shadows.
And I want to thank you for traveling with us tonight. And until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and stay in the shadows.
You've been listening to Sisters of the Shadows. Share this episode, follow us on TikTok, X, and Instagram, and keep the light close until next time.